Well, hello, it's Karen McDermott-Rolfe, Independent Advisor with Creative Memories, and I am back with my monthly technique, layout, and challenge. Today, I'm going to share a scrapbooking technique with you and then challenge all of you to use the technique to create your own layout. Take a photo of your layout and share it with me in Facebook at Karen's Croppers for an entry into my August door prize drawing. When you're in Karen's Croppers, go to the album section and look for the Technique Tuesday 61 album, and that is where you'll post your photo. And then while you're in Karen's Croppers, you can take a look at all of those other 60 albums full of scrapbooking techniques for you. So it's a great reference library there. You can also find photos of these layouts and lots more on my blog at karencrops.com. And I so appreciate your purchases through my Creative Memories website link at creativememories.com/user/Karen, and it's Karen with the Y. So the technique I'm going to show you today, we're going to use our 12-inch trimmer, and we're going to be relying on the diagonal 45-degree line here on the trimmer. So this is a great trimmer technique for you, and it's so timely because on Monday, just yesterday, Creative Memories launched a new personal trimmer that they are calling the photo trimmer. So the new photo trimmer, and I don't have it yet, it's on order, replaces our old personal trimmer. And this is our old personal trimmer. Right now, for the product launch of the photo trimmer, they have paired the new photo trimmer with a trimmer bag, and it's in the really cute rainbow dots pattern that we've been seeing on most of our storage items now. And that trimmer bag is designed to hold both your 12-inch trimmer and the new photo trimmer. Okay, and then later in the month, on August 26th, the new photo trimmer will be available for purchase separately. So I wish I had one to show you. If you go to, you could find me here in Karen's Croppers, or if you look at my blog too, I'll have some photos of the new photo trimmer that you can look at. It's essentially the same as far as it's the guillotine. It has a guillotine blade, but it's much larger. This one is just sized, you know, if we go measure all the way to the end here, to the very end, we're at 5.5 inches. So it was really difficult to cut anything over 5.5 inches with the old personal trimmer. So the new photo trimmer is larger. It's going to be able to cut up to an 8x10 photograph. Okay, and it's going to have a little arm to extend to give you more cutting space. And then again, it's got the guillotine blade that's nice and sturdy for your photos. Because Creative Memories really does recommend that you use this type of a trimmer with the guillotine blade for photos, since they are much thicker and harder to cut than paper. And then just use your 12-inch trimmer for cutting paper, and then use the photo trimmer for photos, and you'll get both of your tools will last much longer. Also, the new photo trimmer, it does not have a little drawer anymore. So that is one thing that's going to be different. You know, the ones that we've had in the past have had drawers that pull out that you could use storage. The new one is that it's going to have some slots on the back side where you can put your scissors, and it'll hold the all-purpose scissors along with your microtip scissors. And then it's going to have little legs on it that are going to rest right over your 12-inch trimmer like that. So then when you get that new trimmer bag, you'll be able to stack your trimmers and then put them in your bag. And that new bag has a nice shoulder strap, so it's going to be really easy for transporting. And then also on the flap, there's or the inside of the trimmer bag, there's some slots to store some more things like pens and tape runners. And then there is a big panel on the back side that you can use to slip over the handle of a rolling cart or a rolling bag that you have, so then it can stack right on top of that really easily. So I encourage you to check that out. That just launched, and it's going to be wildly popular. There's probably a good chance it'll sell out right away, but Creative Memories will get more in stock. So I'm excited about this technique to show you, because it's a trimmer technique, and I'm going to show you a way to cut chevrons. Okay, So there's many different ways to cut chevron shapes. We can cut diagonal pieces. We can create chevrons out of triangles, okay? But I like this technique because I'm going to show you how also to cut these end pieces that cap off the top and the bottom of your chevrons. You know, lots of times we'll just make a chevron pattern, okay? But with this technique, you'll be able to cap them off like this and make kind of this grid design. And then you can change up the technique by using different dimensions and different measurements. And I'll show you an example of that in a second here underneath. For this layout, I've used our Full of Wonder collection, and you'll notice the papers are just beautiful. It has some really pretty watercolor ink paper, really beautiful swirl designs in blues, teals, and purples. It has some great tonal prints in there to match them. So I like how I use the tonal prints here on the top and bottom, and that really highlights the beautiful swirled paper here and my chevron pattern, I believe. I've adhered it all on our new bright white cardstock. Now I also suggest that you add some of that to your shopping cart because this is a true white color. This cardstock is a tad heavier than our regular cardstock, but it's going to work perfectly with all of your punches. And it also has a smooth finish. So it's a great addition to our regular white, which is also going to stay in the product line. And as you know, that regular white cardstock of ours, of Creative Memories, it's more of a creamy white. So you'll often notice in the photographs especially that it photographs very creamy, where this is more of this true white color. And I've also used our dark sea green cardstock. And then I've used some stickers and embellishments from Full of Wonder. And I also punched some cute little banners with our new banner garland border punch. So this punches a 12-inch border, a whole 12 inches of these cute little banner shapes. Now in the past, Creative Memories has had several different banner offerings. We've had a couple banner border maker cartridges, and we've had a single banner punch also of a different sizing. But this garland banner border punch is the one that I personally have been waiting for. This is the size and the shape and the design that I really wanted. It's super cute when you look at it. It is a 12-inch. You can cut it apart and do other little things with the segments. But I think it's a great size, it's a great scale, and we're going to be able to do lots of cute things with that. So I thought this layout came together really beautifully. Now here's another example of using different measurements to get a different look with your chevrons. So you can see in this case now I have 4 columns, where in my first layout, I had the 3 columns. So in order to get the 4 columns, they're narrower. And then on my first layout, I just had 1 chevron shape going through. But on this layout, I have 2. I have the sun paper and then the water paper again. Now I made some strips here to add some more design elements, some more color, and interest to this layout. And these were cut from the Variety mats. Oh, and this collection that I'm using is our summer break collection. So this is our current summer collection. And these pieces here, the titles and the gingham, were cut from Variety mats. Unfortunately, there is not a gingham in the paper pack, but there is a really cute watermelon print that brings in the red. And then we have the stickers and embellishments, and again I've used another photo mat, and this time I've matched it with our blue cardstock, and again using the bright white as the background. So for our class today, I'm going to demonstrate how to make this layout here, because this will go together a bit quicker than this one, because this one had more pieces to cut, more pieces to arrange and to adhere. But later on, when I'm finished, I'll give you the measurements of how you could create this one if you like, okay? So we're going to make this style right now, and I am going to use something a little bit different. I'm going to use this pack of Back to School textured designer paper. Now this is an older pack, and this came out last year, the year before, maybe last year, I think it was just last year, to coordinate with our Back to School collection. And you'll notice that these papers are all textured, so it really goes with all of our sporting embellishment packs that came out. So we have embellishment packs that represent a variety of different sports and activities. Not only sports, but, you know, things like STEM and academic achievements also. And so we have some papers here that will, you know, look great. So some look like, you know, fields, some looks like courts, some will look like water, you know. So I'm going to use the sheet out of this pack that looks like grass, okay? And I'm going to also use an older sheet. This was a tonal from that came out last year to coordinate with our Christmas collection. It is sold out, but I wanted kind of this Argyle plaid because can you guess what I'm going to make? I'm going to make a golf layout, and I'm going to use the On the Green embellishments. I love this On the Green embellishments because this is an entire pack of golfing embellishments. Our other embellishment packs that I had just mentioned, they're kind of paired up where they will combine several sports or activities together. Like, for instance, there's one called On the Mat, and that features wrestling and gymnastics. So, you know, it combines those. But this last month, we came out with 2 new embellishment packs that are an entire pack of football embellishments and an entire pack of baseball or softball. You can use it for baseball or softball embellishments. So for some of, you know, for those sports along with the golf, we have these entire packs of embellishments now. And then again, I'm going to use the bright white cardstock, and I'm going to use blue cardstock. Now, I've already got a head start by cutting my photo mats, and I've adhered them too because that's going to provide me kind of a guide of when I'm placing my chevron pieces so I get everything lined up straight. Lining and adhering everything straight is pretty important with this layout because, you know, you have the striking grid pattern comes through, you know, especially with this bright white, it's coming through really strong. So you want to do your best to line it up all straight when you adhere, okay? So for the mats, I'm going to recommend that you cut those first and adhere those first. And these mats are sized at 3 3/4, 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. Okay, 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And I'll present the measurements again here later on. So I'm going to set this aside for now, and I'm going to use my 2 papers, and we're going to get started. So what we're going to do with all of the paper pieces, we're going to cut some strips, and our strips are going to measure 3 3/4 by 12. Okay, 3 3/4 by 12. So we'll just need one of the center. I'm going to use this plaid here as my center chevron. And then for my end cap pieces, as I'm calling them, I'm going to use this grass paper. And it's going to be 3 3/4 also. I may need probably a second strip of that. Let me go ahead and just cut that, and then we will see if I'm going to need that or not at the end, okay? So let's start off by cutting our top pieces, okay? So we're going to cut this shape first, and we're going to cut all 3 of these pieces. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold our strips just in half on the long edge and do a good job here getting it lined up so it's nice and even. I don't think you really want to use the scoring blade because we don't want too sharp of a fold because we're going to adhere it, you know, opened up, and that fold line will show. So for the top pieces, we're going to start with the square edge. So the square edge, and we're going to put the open edge. So this is the open edge, okay? This open edge. We're going to put that on the 45-degree angle. And we're going to come over and we're going to cut at 1 3/4 inches. Now 1 3/4 inches, I'm going to go this direction here because I'm right-handed. 1 3/4 inches is the last black line on the right of the trimmer. Okay, the last black line is 1 3/4 inches. And then this open edge is on the 45-degree line, and I'm going to cut. And then when we open it, we have that top piece. Okay. Now I need to cut 2 more, and I need to start with the square end. Let me see. Can you see? So I'm going to cut it off right here and set that aside. So I have another square end to work with. So now again, I'm going to place it on the 45-degree line. I'm going to come over here till this bottom edge is on the 1 3/4 line, and I'm going to cut, and I get this piece. And then I'm going to cut it off again, so I'm working with a straight edge, line it back up on that 45-degree line, put it on 1 3/4 and cut. Okay. So now for our middle piece, which is going to create the chevrons, I'm going to use this kind of argyle plaid that reminds me, you know, of a golf, kind of traditional golf pattern. Folding that in half. So I always like, if you're using a pattern paper, to fold it so you can see the pattern. And now this is important here, you guys. So this paper is not directional. It has, you know, it doesn't matter if it's upside down or sideways. The pattern's going to look the same. And the same with the swirly paper that I used here. But now for this layout, my water paper had a definite pattern of these waves. And actually, when I'm looking at it right now, I have 1 waves that are upside down, which of course I didn't see when I photographed the layout or before I started the video, but now that I'm looking at it, I see it really plainly. But I wanted all the waves in the upright position. So what I did with this directional paper, and I really don't have any handy, we'll just pretend here that this is my paper and the waves are going horizontal. When I cut that strip, I'm going to turn it on its side and cut it this way. Okay. And then I'm going to, so put your pattern in the upright position, turn it to the side, and then cut a strip. And then fold it so like the water here is on the outside. And then you're going to be looking at which way the waves are going. And you're going to kind of want, you know, the waves, you're going to just have to pay attention there if the waves are going up or if the waves are going down, okay? So you might do, you know, if you're doing a directional paper, to practice with it first. So this is going to be our argyle piece now, and I'm going to put, or the argyle is going to be our chevron piece, and I'm putting it on the 45-degree angle. I'm putting it up here on the that 1 3/4 line again, and I'm just going to cut to get a starter piece going. So now I have the diagonal side, and I'm going to feed it up, keeping it on the 45-degree angle, and now I have that diagonal edge on the 1 3/4, and I'm going to cut again, and I'm going to get this big chunky chevron piece. And then I'm going to feed that up, and I'm going to do it 2 more times. So again, just stay. And for this piece, it doesn't really matter if you have the fold on the 45-degree line or you have the open edge, okay? You could do it either way. And again, one last time, it's on the 45-degree angle. The edge is on the 1 3/4, and we've cut. And now we have our 3 chevrons. I'm going to put this aside, and I don't think I can get 3 more cuts out of this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to fold my last piece here. And for this one, we're going to make the end caps that go on the bottom. Okay. So for this one, we do want the fold line on the 45-degree angle. You'll remember when we cut the top pieces, the opened edge was on the 45-degree angle. This time we have the folded edge on the 45-degree angle. We're going to feed it up. We're going to make sure that bottom corner is at 1 3/4, and then we're going to cut. And then when we open it up, we have the end piece, okay? So now we need to cut it off again and square it up, because you need to start with the square edge, okay? We're going to feed it up, keeping it on the 45-degree angle, that right corner on the 1 3/4 inches, and we're going to cut, and we get the bottom piece. And then do it one more time. So really pretty easy. You just have to remember about which edge to, whoops, look at what I was talking and not paying attention. I forgot to square off my piece and start with the square piece. So again, I got the chevron shape instead. So there I go. I cut that off. I'm starting with the square edge, and now I'm coming over here. Okay. There we go. So now we have all of our pieces. And going back to our layout that I've started, I'm just going to lay it out kind of to get my spacing. I'm leaving, you know, about a 1/4 inch edge around everything. More or less a 1/4 inch here. And then the chevrons. And the chevrons. And the chevrons. And then our top piece. Now it looks like I'm going to, I started my mats up a little high. I left that edge there on the bottom. And if I want a white edge at the top that matches the bottom, I'm really going to have to bring my pieces in really close to, and not have much white space in between them. So instead, I think this time I'm going to adhere these top pieces right to the top so I can have space to have enough room to have that spacing kind of consistent that way, okay? So let me go ahead and adhere these down, and we can see it all come together. So it's a real versatile technique, as you can see. I mean, just of the sample layouts that I've shown you. So really you can use it with any papers or any theme. You could easily turn it into a double page spread. Just make the same page twice and butt them up together. Whoops. That was my ruler that just fell when I grabbed my multi-purpose tool. I think I need to do a little something different. I think I'm going to, well, let me just kind of tentatively put that right there. And now I'm going to adhere the top piece, and I might want to scooch that middle piece a little bit. So I think when you're adhering your pieces down, don't rub them real good. Just kind of gently place them in place, because in case you need to tinker with them and just move them a smidge. So I kind of adjusted that, and now I'm good with that. So now I'm going to press it down and all of that. When you're doing these pieces too that have these pointy edges, always run the repositional tape over those pointy edges. That way your layout's going to be a lot neater. These little points will lay down flat for you. Maybe I'll just kind of work my way across. Okay. I'll use this layout for one of my 3 nephews. My 3 nephews are quite the golfers. They all have scholarships to play golf at some major universities. My youngest nephew, he finished first in the Illinois State Tournament last year. Of course, their school team won the state tournament a couple years in a row now. Several years with all 3 nephews playing. And then the middle nephew, just something really exciting just happened last week. He qualified to play in the amateur tournament, the U.S. Adult Amateur Tournament. He's 18, so he qualified as an adult, and he's going to be playing in that amateur tournament. So my son also is a good golfer. He's played, well, just golf at the high school level, but he's coached golf. He's coached varsity golf before, too. Me, I am not a good golfer. I was a good softball player, actually, and so I had a hard time with the swing of the club being different from the swing of the bat. Just kind of, I mean, I could get lucky and hit some really good balls off the tee. That would go really far, but just no good. And I am terrible at miniature golf. Terrible. Don't enjoy that at all. Okay, so I have my pieces adhered down, and now I'm kind of looking, and I can see where they kind of veered a little bit. You can see how this line is much wider than that line, and this line kind of gets narrower as it goes up. So I had a little, something kind of wonky was happening there. So I think I might try to pull them up and scooch them over again. And you can see there with the multi-purpose tool how easily I was able to do that. So I am going to move this piece over a little bit. So there, it's more even. I think that's going to fix the problem. And then I'm going to move this one over too. So I really shouldn't have rubbed down those pieces quite yet until I took a good hard look at it. There we go. And I think this one, it's really easy to adhere the pieces a little bit crooked, So you want to get them on straight, because if you do one piece crooked, then all the pieces are going to end up crooked. So that's kind of why I started down here with the mats, so I had a guide to help me. So I think that is quite a bit better now. It looks fairly consistent. And we know that sometimes, even though I've cut these strips all the same width, it depends on where exactly I had it at the trimmer. Did I have it right on the line? Did I have it a little bit to the left or the right of the cut line? So those strips could be like a little smidge off too. So I was just rubbing away all my excess repositional tape, and I'm really loving how this looks, that blue and green, that some great combo there. And then I've already pulled out some golf embellishments. So I'm thinking something like this. And for this layout, I'm going to have some journaling to do. So it's, it's going to be from one of their tournaments or one of their accomplishments. So I'm going to want to include some journaling. So I might be, cutting some white cardstock strips to go over a part of my photos where I can add some journaling about that. And of course, I'm going to adhere these with foam squares. So let me just do that really quickly, so I can finish this up, and then we're going to go back and I'm going to review all the measurements with you, and I'm going to give you the measurements for the summer layout that had more pieces to it. I think for those little feet, they're kind of narrow, so I'm going to, the legs and feet, I'm just going to cut one of these small foam squares in half and put it down there on the foot of the embellishment. I'm just pulling off all the little backings of my foam squares. Hopefully they're going right into the garbage and not on the floor where they'll stick to my socks and they get transported all throughout my house. There we go. So probably, you know, to do our visual triangle, to kind of move our eye around between embellishment clusters, I think I would do I would put my little journaling piece about right here. So I just, as a little placeholder, I think I'll just put a foam square right there on the white portion and just kind of lightly put that down. And if that's not going to work when I put my photos on, I'll be able to easily pry up that single little foam square and just move that around a little bit and scooch it. So there we go. We have the completed layout. Love how that looks. I think it came together really great. So again, let's go over the measurements. I need to find my sticky sheet. Here it is. So for this layout, for this version and this version, same technique, totally different look. I love that. We cut the strips, all 3 strips at 3 3/4 by 12. We cut them all at the 1 3/4 line on the trimmer. Okay, we cut them a little differently, but we cut them all at 1 3/4. And then my mats are 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So with these measurements, you guys are going to be able to duplicate this layout. Okay. Now my summer layout was a little different. So I started out with strips that are narrower. So from my sun paper and my water paper, my strips are 2 3/4 by 12. 2 3/4. And then I cut them, you know, I placed those strips on the diagonal line and I cut them at 1 inch. So 1 inch. My mats are 2 3/4 by 5. That's 2 3/4 by 5. And then I have these center strips also. This top strip here is 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and they're actually 2 pieces from the variety mat. Okay, so there's 2 pieces there. And roughly, I think they were 5 and, since I dropped my ruler, let me use this little ruler. I think they were about 5 3/4. Okay, 5 3/4, 5 3/4. And then the gingham strips here, they were 1 inch wide, 1 inch, again by 5 3/4. Okay. So I'll just leave that up for a second if you guys want to copy it. But of course, you know, you can just freeze the video or rewind it if you're watching here as you're creating. So I cannot wait to see what you guys do with this technique. Are you going to use one of these versions? Are you going to come up with your own design in your own dimensions? Are you going to change it up a little bit? What collection are you going to use? How is it going to look? Are you going to turn it into a double page layout? I can't wait to see what you share with me here in Karen's Croppers on Facebook. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching today. Have a great month, and I'll be back next month with my next challenge.